Now, the Minoans are also known for sculpture, and this is not the same sort of sculpture we see from the later Greeks or we've seen from the Egyptians. These are very different materials. So we find a lot of sculpture at the palace of Knossos. And in the case of the snake goddess, what we're seeing is one of several similar female figures. And this is created from faience, Fainence. And it's a low-fire glass-like structure. It's sort of half glass, half ceramic. And when I say low fire, in other words, you don't have to bring it to the same temperatures as, say, modern ceramics. Now, the costume may be something that's fairly realistic to the time. The fact that she's topless is not unusual in the ancient world. In fact, that was quite common all the way through into the 17th century. The frontality, the fact that we're meant to see her from the front, seems to be very basic, almost a throwback to earlier forms. There's no real dynamicism here if you ignore the fact that she's holding two snakes. And the style is very distinctively Minoan. We have the large eyes, the very thin waist, the arms with very little tone. We could imagine very long muscular legs if they were visible. And scholars are always arguing what it represents. This could be some kind of mortal attendant to the god, like a priestess, who is somehow celebrating that god. But I believe this is a god itself, because who else could balance a flippin' cat on their head? I mean, honestly, have you ever tried to balance a cat on your head? It's tricky. It's like trying to tape toast to the back of... Don't ask. Moving on. Then we have the young god, and what you're seeing is a recreation. We'll see the actual one in 1 second. But this is the original is made of hippopotamus tusk, gold, serpentine, and rock crystal. Serpentine is a form of rock crystal. And this is what we see today, the one you see on the far left. You see the tusk for the upper body. You see sort of the crystal used for the helmet and the legs. And when we talk about rock crystal, this is basically carving quartz. So it gives you an idea of how valuable, how important this piece must have been, because you wouldn't put in that kind of effort to just create a portrait of Grandpa. This is also showing contrapposto once again, that idea of having one foot stepping forward, giving it a sense of action. But the style and iconography are purely from Crete. And in fact, we see minute details of musculature and even veins. For example, if we look in the arm here, you can see the sinews and veins running up the length of the arm. By the way, the reason they're using tusk, or any society uses ivory, is it's pure white and it's very easy to carve. There's almost no grain to it, so it makes it very easy to work with. This is likely a deity rather than... This is likely a deity rather than a mortal, because we see things like gold being used for that loincloth, for the sandals. We see these very expensive materials. So more than likely it's some kind of young god, but we again get that sense of the Minoan body form, the very thin waist, the very long muscular legs, the arms that are they're sinewy. They're not really built. This is not a man who looks like a bodybuilder today. So why create something like this? Something this expensive, this difficult? Because you're going to be essentially giving it to a god. It's going to be some kind of votive offering. And the better the piece that you create, hopefully the better the fortune the god will bless you with.